Hey everyone, welcome back to Pulling Threads. Today we are here with Melanie Miller. She is a LPC, licensed professional counselor, and Melanie is going to talk with us parallel parenting and how that works in blended families. But we're also going to talk about going alcohol free, which is something I've dabbled in twice in my life. In 2023, right after my divorce, I was on a big biohacking health kick, stopped drinking, and was like, oh, wow, I feel incredible. I'm sleeping better, all of these things. This summer, my boyfriend and I decided to stop drinking. So we're going to talk about that. So, Melanie, welcome. And
Thank
thank you
you.
for being here.
Yeah, happy to be here.
When people come on the show, I really like to dig into their personal journey and how they got here, what really inspired your interest in the work you do with blended families. Share a little bit about your personal journey, if you don't mind.
Sure. A loaded question. I keep this image behind me about, life is, for me, has been like a lot of loops, never a straight point A to point B. My story started from birth, which
Mm,
sounds dramatic, but being a child of a lot of adverse childhood experiences, my parents were very young, 18 and 19 when I was born. They meant well, but were trying to survive their own adverse childhood experiences. I experienced a lot of emotional neglect, not abuse, but there was a lot of substance use and mental health concerns between my
yeah.
parents. And so I was the oldest of four, and so I learned to be very self-reliant. One of the things that I think like a guiding compass of my life is that life is suffering. I feel very deeply as a highly sensitive person, constantly observing everything. I think therapy just made sense because I'm studying people in life, and this experience of being human is constantly on my mind. That's really why I became a therapist. I'm a tractor beam for suffering in my own life and the suffering of other people. I think very deeply about the existential crisis of being human.
Mhm.
So that's a long story, but I think I've always been destined to try to make meaning out of
Yeah.
life, why we're here, why I'm here. I totally understand the suffering of others. That's why I became a therapist. And then sobriety coaching, they say your mess is your message. It was just the next thing, something that I had a season of life that I had to walk through, and I felt like other people could use this message.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have created a course, or you're in the process of creating a course,
Mm-hmm.
Off the Rocks. So is
Yeah.
this helping people live a sober life? What
Mm-hmm.
share what you feel comfortable sharing, and how do you see people living a sober life? How do you see it changing their life?
Yeah. It's a big question. Off the Rocks was kind of just a clever idea, on the rocks, off the rocks. The idea is for people in early sobriety to have a different introduction into sobriety. I was on the Sober Curious train for a few years that it was like this jerking motion of on again, off again. As
Oh,
soon as I'd get like 30, 60, even 90 days, and I'd be like, okay, I can have a drink. And then sure enough, you slide right back to where you were before. What I found is that there's a lot of shame. Everybody knows that AA is, hi, my name's Melanie and I'm an alcoholic, which I don't think that I am necessarily. I don't like labels, but the powerlessness to alcohol is so pervasive that there's so much shame
mhm.
around it. Of course, nobody wants to admit that they have a problem with drinking. I would go to these recovery, not AA, but Dharma recovery, like yoga classes. I would still feel like I don't fit into these spaces. And it really clicked for me that I'm healthy in every other area of my life. I was in personal training for a long time. I eat very clean. I'm a therapist. I practice yoga. Alcohol was the one thing that got a pass. It was the one thing that I just needed to be in better alignment with my health overall. And so it was making the decision that I'm not powerless to alcohol. I'm actually
Yeah.
choosing to align with other areas of my life. That was a major shift for me. No more shame and
Yeah.
powerlessness. It was like, okay, this makes a lot more sense. With this program and sobriety in general, I really hope it's a movement. I created a sober community in Ann Arbor where I live, and I really hope that we can take back territory in an
Yeah.
alcohol obsessed society. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of the premise of why I started it in the program. And my hopes are just that it continues to grow. People understand that you don't have to hit a rock bottom moment to choose to let go of something really toxic and poisonous to our nervous system and our body.
I don't think people realize how much of a negative impact it's having,
Mm-hmm.
literally shortening your life.
Right.
It's very difficult
Yeah.
to say out loud, I'm not drinking, because the pushback is tough. Even
Yeah.
I do think that there's a, a sober movement happening, and
Mm-hmm.
people are finding alternates and go to the beach. It's great. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting that it takes up so much space in our culture and our world because we
True.
don't feel we belong in our group anymore.
I don't think people realize, at least I didn't, that the alcohol industry is $1 billion, if not $1 trillion industry that quite literally needs us to drink. Marketing is incredibly powerful. Think about the ways you've been influenced to buy anything. There are some very smart people out there that know how to target our comfort and convenience. It's not really as simple as, you know, I don't know what I think consciously. There's just a lot of things unconsciously that are happening. Very powerful forces that want us to keep drinking.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of people fear that life without alcohol will be dull or isolating. I think the isolation is the biggest thing. When I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to go into a situation where I know everyone's going to be drinking, I've never been a big drinker. I only typically have one drink if I'm out with
Mm-hmm.
friends. Alcohol hasn't played, they have always been able to say no to it. But in a social situation, I do feel like I don't know if I want to say, or will I just order one and act like I'm drinking it because there's so much pushback. How do you
Mm-hmm.
help clients see that it can be freeing and get past their fears?
I really think it depends on the personality type.
Of course.
I like to go against the grain, and a lot of people
Mm,
don't. I don't mind being antagonistic to the grain. From that perspective, I think I want to feel proud that
mm,
this is the choice that I'm making, which I haven't always felt. There was definitely a lot of conditioning to my thought process that needed to happen to get to a
yeah,
place where I could do that because I really wanted to be a part of what they were doing.
yeah,
Um, but I think it's part of the personality. Annie Grace talks about you don't have to tell anyone that you're not drinking. You can order a drink and then change your order at the bar, which I
yeah,
think that's going a little bit too far. But if you prefer to stay under the radar, you don't owe anyone any explanation for why or what you're drinking. Knowing yourself is
hmm,
really important. Knowing the parts of you that get activated around this
yes,
question, and then
yep.
how do you work with those parts to find the best solution. But this just literally happened to me the other night. I was invited to a potluck dinner with my neighbors. I'm not close to these people, and every single one brought a bottle of wine. None of them asked or noticed that I wasn't drinking. I quietly had my own drink with me, poured it.
Yeah,
No one said anything.
that's great. I actually
Yeah.
had an experience last week with my girlfriends and my book club, like one evening, and then the next day, I found that people, if you say I'm not drinking, they're actually happy because then you can drive. Back
Yeah.
to the designated driver sends out a
Uh-huh.
message. Hey guys, just so you know, I'm not really drinking right now, so I can drive and save us a $40 Uber.
Yeah.
So, but the other thing was, I've been not having a drink at book club for a while. So I just order my club soda and lime and no one's saying anything. No one cares. However, I'm getting ready to go home for a reunion. Friends from
Mm-hmm.
high school and college, and there was drinking as part of our culture. And I've already thought about how am I going to handle that? Like everybody there will be having a drink. I'll be going back to a younger version of myself, engaging with people where I did drink a lot. Um,
Yeah.
I've already been thinking about, am I going to have one drink or am I going to just abstain completely? How will I feel? I think the therapist in me is like, okay, let's prepare. What are we going to say? What are we going to do? Um,
Yeah, that's good.
so I guess my point is you have to have different preparations and different
Mm-hmm.
conversations with yourself based
Mm-hmm.
on the people.
Yeah, I agree. Like the different parts of you that get activated around the different
Yes.
settings. But one thing you mentioned, you talked about being dull or isolating. And, I think that what we also don't understand is that alcohol doesn't do the thing that we think it's doing. We think
Mm-hmm.
that alcohol is going to be like stress relieving and take the edge off. But if you think about the words like dull and isolating, it kind of insinuates that alcohol is vibrant and connected,
And
right?
transformative, like you transform
Right.
into this happy, more lively, fun person. Yeah.
Exactly. And you have to ask yourself, is that true? I don't
Right.
think it is. I mean, I think that there is a window of like 20 minutes where you feel that buzz, but anesthesia. It's like you go to the dentist
Right.
and you don't want to feel the root canal,
Right.
but then you come out and you're drooling out of your mouth when you take a drink. That's what alcohol is doing to your brain. One of the misconceptions is that people think that alcohol is this wonderful elixir. I honestly felt very betrayed. That was part of my process in
Mm-hmm.
letting go of alcohol, the betrayal. I thought we were friends.
Yeah. Right.
And what is it actually giving you? Because it's making a lot of promises, but I don't think it's delivering.
That is so interesting. And I think at my age, right, like I'm a Gen Xer, I'm 49, I've really come into this point in my life where I want to live authentically and always be aligned. I like who I am.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
at an earlier time in my life when I maybe didn't love who I was, it did numb me and it helped me show up in a different way. But I will say, anyone who's been drinking throughout their life have times when I can't believe I did.
Right.
Like you'd betray
I know.
yourself. That's really interesting. I haven't thought about it that way,
Mm-hmm.
but you're
Mm-hmm.
absolutely right. You can easily step out of yourself and show up in a way that you didn't intend or want to
Right.
because of the effect on your brain and your nervous system.
Right.
Yeah.
I think of it like it's the ultimate off switch to life. As soon
Ah,
as you hit that, all of your entrepreneurial ideas go out the window, all of your creativity, all of your energy. Who is actually showing up in that space when you've hit the off switch?
yeah.
That's another
Yeah.
question, too. That's not really your best self, your
Right. Right.
highest self actualized self.
What do you think the most common misconceptions do people have about sobriety?
I think the first one that comes to mind, which a lot of people are talking about, is if I'm sober, then that means I have a problem. I think a lot of
Yes.
people are afraid to have a problem with alcohol. The problem is that alcohol is a toxic, poisonous substance.
Right.
That's
Right.
the problem. The fact that you're not drinking it makes sense.
Right.
So it's like we've been conditioned to believe that this is something we need in our life. I think that's a misconception that sobriety is less ideal, but it doesn't make
Mm.
any sense when you think about what alcohol really is. I was listening to a podcast where someone was wondering what to do about this girls' trip they were going on. She wasn't drinking anymore and trying to decide how to talk to her friend. There was a lot of talk around, well, you don't want to change anyone else's decision, which I completely understand. We don't need to tell people to stop drinking. That's not our
Right.
responsibility, and everyone has to be ready. But I do think that if a person drinking alcohol wants to insist that we drink, it's perfectly reasonable for someone who's not drinking to say, hey, do you want to have a sober weekend? Not
Yeah.
pressure, not forcing anything at all. That's what I mean by taking back space in our society. We should be able to exist in a sober space and invite people to join us if they want to. They can choose not to. Alcohol does have a lot of power in our society,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yes.
sobriety is the down position
Yeah.
at this
Yeah.
point,
At this point.
right now.
Yes. Yeah.
One thing that caught me for a long time is that alcohol is natural, or it can be, right? It can
Mm.
be like a naturally fermented process. I was never a wine drinker. Tequila was actually my
Yeah.
thinking about wine country and all the different varietals and
Mm.
flavors and notes. They can get really fancy. I think the history of alcohol is so fascinating when people stumbled upon something fermented and accidentally found it intoxicating.
Yeah.
The prohibition and using it during the slave trade. It really is about power. It really is a tool. And like any tool, it can be used for harm.
Yeah.
So I think those are some of the things
That misconception is harmless.
yeah, right.
And I think that is huge
Mm-hmm.
because it's legal. We
Mm-hmm.
automatically think it's harmless.
Yes.
But I would guess that most people know someone who has suffered tremendously from either themselves
Mm-hmm.
having an addiction to alcohol.
Mm.
It touches so many parts of my life. I
Yeah.
actually have a friend who died from
Mm.
alcoholism,
Yeah.
and it was a young, vibrant person
Right.
die so young, early.
Mm-hmm.
I have so many stories, most of us
Right.
do, but
Mm-hmm.
yet we say it's harmless. And
Yeah.
our kids, I can't wait till I'm 21 so
I
I can
know.
drink legally.
I
And you're
know.
like, but it's not harmless
Yeah.
to our brain, mother.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My first career was in speech pathology. My profession was in a very big academic medical institution working with people with brain injuries and tumors. Pull up
Mm.
their MRI, and you could tell immediately if someone
Really?
had a history of alcoholism because
Wow.
there literally are holes.
Mm-hmm.
Alcoholic many years, like they would
Mm-hmm.
twice.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there are many misconceptions. The
Yeah.
idea that a glass of wine a day is okay. Science is
Right.
not supporting that at
Yeah.
all.
The
Yeah.
whatever it is in the red wine that people talk about is like so minuscule and you
Yes.
could get it elsewhere. It's not something necessary. I don't think that people even need to be considered an alcoholic or even have an alcohol use disorder to have it start affecting the brain. More than 2 drinks a week can indicate risks for cancers and all kinds of things. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely not a harmless substance. It affects people at different rates.
Yep.
You know, how quickly you slide down, however far you go, but it's still the same poisonous substance and the most socially accepted and
Yeah.
even promoted, right?
Promoted.
Like all the kids that are looking to, oh, I can't wait till I turn 21.
And
It's
we've
really
all been
scary.
there. If I could
Mm-hmm.
have some of that time back that I don't even remember.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The terrifying thing is that we have normalized even a hangover.
Yes.
I was puzzled by the fact that humans, our bodies are so incredibly intelligent. How did we get duped so badly by this
Yeah.
substance? Most dogs will sniff alcohol and walk away, right? They have instincts to say, no, this is poisonous. Alcohol is actually very dangerous to dogs. I don't think they have as much protection in their body. If you saw a dog intoxicated, especially if it was my dog, I would be beside myself in
Yeah.
fear and tears, seeing them
Right.
stumbling or vomiting or doing anything disorienting. But we see people do that every day at the bar,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It's shocking that we've normalized how destructive that is to our bodies. So
Yeah.
that's
As most people
scary.
just don't even think about it, did.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So if someone was sober curious, but
Mm-hmm.
not, what steps do you often suggest?
Yeah, I think the sober curious movement is fantastic. I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't a thing. I would get in a community and
Hmm.
find a coach. Going sober is not an easy task, and it's not sunshine and rainbows. The decision is the entry point.
Yeah.
You've made the decision, and now the real work starts. Gabor Mate talks about alcohol as the poor solution to a problem. Once you take that solution away, most people are left to cipher through the problem that's there. That's what it was like for me. I was using tequila to self medicate and numb what I felt like I couldn't control. I think my advice is to get with a community, find a coach, and, you know, normalized the idea that it's not sunshine and rainbows all the time. It might actually be harder, but
Yeah.
the only way out is through.
Right.
If you want that freedom, you got to go through it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we're going to switch gears a little bit. That's
okay.
okay with you.
Yeah.
Because you specialize in something very similar to the things I am working on right now.
Mm-hmm.
You specialize in co parenting, parallel parenting, and I'm also interested how you became interested and working on those things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did you get there?
Yeah, these two things really go hand in hand. What I was using tequila for was to cover up a lot of things that I felt really helpless about. The blended family is a niche or area that I want to help. I'm not really active in the space right now, but I am writing a book about it, The Blended Family Makeover. I recently got out of a blended family. I don't have the success story that people might be looking for, but I do have a lot of lessons learned from this experience. And, of course, I have a parallel parenting experience with my son's father. So, yeah, I'm not sure what the actual question was, but just why I got into it or how I got into
Yes.
it. Okay.
Yes.
So, pain,
your
suffering.
your family.
My parallel parenting experience was one of the worst experiences I could possibly imagine. And I just pray that no one has this experience that I had with my parallel parent.
Can you explain the difference between co-parenting and parallel
Yes.
parenting?
Co-parenting is ideal. Co-parenting is collaborative. It's what do you think? What are your thoughts about this? I was thinking this and getting feedback. It's back and forth with the best interest of the child. That is ideal. Parallel parenting is, of course, the best interest of the child. That is the goal. I imagine two parallel tracks. You're two individual parents parenting separately for the best interest of the child. My particular parallel parent loved to just come and derail my track as much as he possibly could. We're going to talk in this conversation about how to protect yourself from that legally. I
Mm-hmm.
think that was the biggest problem that we ran into, is that I wasn't protected up front. It's much easier to have a really strict divorce decree that you can loosen rather than having one that you need to constantly adjust and make stronger.
Yeah.
My son is now 18, and magically it dissipated when he turned 18. So there was no more control,
Wow.
no nothing. It is quite miraculous.
So I think what you described, a parallel parenting situation would be more what you'd find if there's a high conflict.
High conflict
Right. Whereas,
relationship.
what are some of the biggest challenges that parents face when they're trying to make parallel parenting work?
I believe a difficult relationship with your ex, with the person you're parenting with, can work. If people are reasonable and want to abide by the rules, parallel parenting could be pleasant. The isolating thing is you're essentially a solo parent, making a
Yeah.
lot of decisions on your own, which doesn't feel good. But then when you have someone attacking those decisions at every turn, I think it becomes unbearable. Legal protection is like a shield of armor when you have
Yeah.
that divorce decree. But if you don't, you're kind of at the mercy of trying to hold down boundaries that someone doesn't respect.
I think
Yeah.
there are many incredible family law attorneys who
Mm-hmm.
make sure that all the boundaries and the rules are in place and they're in the parenting plan.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a few clients that feel frustrated that it's very cookie cutter and they're like, we need exceptions.
Mm-hmm.
They can't handle the 223. And the attorneys are just trying to push the process through without necessarily thinking outside the box. They come to me to coach them on what to ask for. And one of the things I often recommend is have everything in writing. Always go
Mm-hmm.
back to
Yeah,
it. Even
exactly.
if you don't follow it, especially
Mm-hmm.
like with holidays, have something
Yes.
in writing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to follow it. I have
Yes.
an amazing co-parenting situation. My
Mm-hmm.
primary parent is
Mm-hmm.
very busy, so the kids are
Mm-hmm.
typically with me and I make most of the decisions and we work
Mm-hmm.
together if we need to.
Mm-hmm.
But so everything is there in writing.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
if anything would change, no, this is
Mm-hmm.
what we agreed on.
Right.
If you don't cover everything in
Yeah.
the parenting plan, you, I
Yes.
think on the parallel track, I can see my clients who are really doing that. It almost allows them to parent the way they want.
Yep.
So
Which is
even
hard.
though it's hard because they
Mm-hmm.
feel things are being undone, the kids
Mm-hmm.
are a mess.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but the parallel parenting style is the answer.
I
It's
totally
just,
understand.
these kids just have to figure it out. Like, this is how I am with mom, and this is how I am with dad.
I think the best thing we can do for our kids is to be a safe place to land. When the
Mm-hmm.
world is crazy and upside down and it doesn't make sense to them, really what they're looking for is to be steadied. That co-regulation is so important, but if we're not
Yes.
regulated ourselves, we can't do that. And
Right.
so being a safe place for them to land and stay in your window of tolerance, that's what's going to give them safety and stability. It probably is really confusing to go between two different homes and have different rules. It always broke my heart to see my son have to pack up all of his stuff and lug it over to his dad's and then lug it back. When they get older, it's not like he always had two separate homes that had fully equipped things, but as he got older, he wanted his stuff. So
Right.
he wanted to
Right.
lug it back and forth. It's hard on the kids, but I think that the more we can stay calm and regulated, they're going to be okay. I'm so proud. He's such a wonderful human and somehow survived all of the tension between me and his dad. I like to think that because I provided that safe place to land, I tried incredibly hard to never speak disparagingly about his dad because I
Yeah.
believe that kids see themselves as equal parts of their mom and their dad. As soon as you say something negative about the other parent, that I just feel that shame.
Themselves
Mm-hmm.
as having that characteristic. Such a
Exactly.
great point.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter how poor the communication is,
Right.
parents, you have to stay neutral regarding the other parent. Like, how do parents protect their child's well-being when the communication is really poor? Place to land is
Mm-hmm.
key. You
Yeah.
have to take care of yourself. I always refer to the put the oxygen mask on yourself first.
Right.
Plane and you have your
Mm-hmm.
children, they come and tell you, make sure you put your mask on first.
Right.
That is the same idea here. Like, we've got to be taking care of ourselves. Get therapy,
Mm-hmm.
get help, go to
Right.
yoga. Got to regulate your own nervous system. When the kids walk back through the door, it's our job to co-regulate and get them to
Absolutely.
feel safe.
You got to think like developmentally, that's the stage that they're in to be dysregulated by anything and everything,
Yes.
right?
Yes. It could be
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, so we have to anticipate that they're already going to be dysregulated by life, and it's our job to be the safe, strong container that they need to feel calm. I always think of the roller coaster analogy, right? When you get on a roller
Yeah.
coaster, you want to make sure the seatbelt is buckled in. So you check it a
Yeah.
couple times. It's like that's what parenting is. We're the seatbelt, and the kids will push against it, get angry, or they're going to get frustrated or yell and scream, and that's not fair. But they ultimately want to know that as far as they push, they're still going to be safe. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're going to switch to talking about the blended family.
Mm-hmm.
Many families blend and they
Mm-hmm.
introduce new partners or step parents. What?
I think there's a misconception that love is going to be enough. And that's maybe that sounds a little cliche, and maybe people are more aware than that. But I do think that it'll work out. A blended family takes a lot of strategy and skill. It's a lot of
Mm,
work. In thinking about our conversation today, I related it to a strict diet that doesn't pay off for a long time.
yeah.
You have to be really particular about the ingredients that you put in, the way that you prepare it. It's not the quick fix. It's not the sugary sweet thing that you're wanting to feel like a family again and to feel this love with your partner and having everyone get along. It's a lot of work. I think people underestimate the work and the skill it takes to blend a family. Every family is different.
Yeah.
I think part of my thought process, if I were working with a blended family, would be to do a blended family draft. Sports teams draft their players. They look at their strengths, weaknesses, injuries, how well they're going to fit into the team. They do a whole report and study each player. We need to do that for every person in the blended family. What are going to be the challenges? What are their strengths? What can we look out for? There needs to be a lot more preparation, but it also needs to come from the bio parent.
Mm-hmm.
So we typically think in this patriarchal society of like, and this is maybe from my religious background, but like God first, parent, and then kids, where it's like the
Yeah.
husband leads, the wife submits, and the children obey, right?
Yep.
That's the
Yep.
traditional nuclear family model. With a blended family, we need to shift the whole paradigm. That does not work for a blended family, in my opinion.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Have you worked with families to help them set realistic expectations and boundaries when building a blended family?
I think part of the draft is also realistic expectations. Like, what did you think was going to happen when you got
Mm-hmm.
married? I think that there's a lot of times that people want that partner to solve something that they're not good at,
Yeah.
right? So, for me, it was a single mom for most of my son's life. And then when my now ex-husband came along, it was like, oh, it would be so great to just not have to worry about keeping us alive. So there
Yeah.
was this underlying need that I had that it would kind of rescue us. And I
Right.
think for my now ex husband, there was a deficit emotionally, like in his emotional regulation with his child, that he was looking for me to solve.
Right.
And that was a disaster. So I think you have to
Right.
be really honest about why you're getting married. That would be
Yeah.
one first step. Mm-hmm.
If you are seeking out a partner to play a role in your child's life, bring you
Mm-hmm.
security, being really honest about that upfront is hard.
Right. Oh, right.
Um, what advice would you give parents trying to navigate loyalty conflicts that children have between different households going to another family?
Mm-hmm.
That can really create conflicts for them, I think.
The first thing that comes to mind is that what we resist persists.
Maybe.
But that's kind of an anchor thing for me is anytime we're resisting something, it's going to last longer. So this goes back again to being that calm, regulated parent in the face of whatever they have to say. I heard someone say, it was just a podcast, but she called it Botox brow. Don't get all, this is how
Right.
it's
Yeah.
going to be.
Yeah.
You shouldn't think that way. I hate my step parent. Okay, tell me why you feel that way. I hear that it's really frustrating. Being a therapist is a great skill because that's what we're trained to do. But if every parent could just find a therapist part of themselves that may not agree, because there's a lot of
Yeah.
times I'm in session with clients that I don't agree in a variety of ways, but is not my job to challenge or go against what they have to say. So I think that's what people need to do with their kids. Allow them to feel whatever they're feeling. Chances are, as soon as they feel seen, heard, and valued without judgment, it's probably going to decrease. It's not going to
Yeah.
persist anymore. That would be my
Yes.
advice on
My
that.
daughter's therapist told me you need to just ask questions. Don't
Yeah.
give answers.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's what I do with my
Right.
clients, but not with my kids.
Right.
My daughter was 14 and really in like a hard,
Mm,
I felt like we were constantly like this. She was struggling when she would leave and have to do her visits with her dad. And
mm,
I wanted to fix it
yeah.
instead. And when I made the shift of just asking, listening, it
Mm,
really, our whole relationship changed, but also it helped diffuse what she was going through
yeah.
with her other
Yeah.
parent.
Yeah.
So I'm in a unique situation where I made the decision not to blend my partner with my kids, even though we
Mm,
live in very close proximity. We're in a 2-year long relationship. he's friendly with the kids, but we decided not to integrate him into our family. And I did get some pushback from friends. Well, don't you want someone who wants to be a part? Don't you want to share? Don't you want the kids to have someone? My my childhood and my step parent situation was not great. My partner's stepmother situation wasn't great. And we kind of made the decision that we love our relationship and it's very unique, and we don't want to risk it by integrating. I guess my question for you is the recommendation ever don't blend? Hold your relationship with your family and your children sacred. You're doing that, or holding extra space for each group, right? Like,
No, I love that you guys are doing this. I'm so proud to hear that you're taking this step, even though it's against the grain. What I love about it is because in the blended family makeover, I believe it should be bio parent first, spouse second, and step parent third. It's very different than the, God, husband, wife, children, right? The paradigm shift is that you're basically operating as two sub units. What I love is that you don't need to combine them. You can still be the bio leader of your
yep.
children, and your partner is more of a support person. You guys are the two head coaches of the blended family draft, so to speak, and you've decided that it works out best for the team. Like if you can't get the two parents to connect, you're definitely not getting the zipper to go up any further.
I think every situation is unique and different. Ever believe in a box for anything. I think with my kids, especially my daughter, she was 13 when I met my partner, and we both agreed that is such a challenging age for girls and to have a man coming in and just being in her space. And I talked to her about her feelings, and she was like, probably a year into a year ago, which I don't want his things here. I don't want him to move in. She was already having concern, like, okay, mom's been with him for a year now. He's not coming around us a lot. We know him. We like him, but we're not doing too much. But is she going to move in together? And she said, we have a very open, honest relationship, myself and all three of my kids. And she just said, I wouldn't want his stuff in our house. And I was like, okay. I like our house. I like our vibe. I like our energy here. This is our space. He can be here, but we're not blending in. Really, when he's in the house, it's not too much engaging with the kids. They have golf in common now. So they do the golf talk and the sports talk, and they are more friends. But there's I think maybe when kids are younger, there is a different need for the children. This works. And there is a little pushback. People are like, he's not going on the vacation with you, or he's not going to Jack's golf match. And I'm like, we don't need that. We don't need that. Being it separate makes it easier. Like, I do not have any concern about them not getting along. All I have to do is worry about making my relationship work and making my family work.
I love it. I think that says a lot of leadership. Like you don't need anything. You're not lacking anything in yourself that you're looking to your partner for. And I think that's the ultimate goal, whether a person chooses to blend their family in the same home or not, is like you have to really ask yourself, like, what am I outsourcing? That I could be doing within myself and growing within myself. And that's not easy to do. Not everyone has evolved to that level. So people have a lot of needs of others. But like Gabor Mate says, whatever you do, do it consciously. I think it applies here too. Be conscious of what you're getting into. If you can keep it separate, I think that's ideal. I personally believe I was a mom first. So my allegiance was to my son, not my husband. Ultimately deciding to divorce, I was looked down upon. But I believe my son was the most important job that I had. It sounds like that's what you're doing, putting your kids first, which I think is wonderful.
And it's working. So It's an option I
Mhm.
just think people think about. They
Yeah.
think when they enter the dating world that their kids are going to have this great relationship with this person and vice
Mhm.
versa, relationship with your
Mhm.
kids. And then you're forcing your kids to have this relationship with the other person. Sometimes it
Mhm.
just naturally flows and people get that connection with their kids and their
Mhm.
partner, but
Mhm.
sometimes it doesn't.
You're right.
And it
I think,
can be
yeah.
really uncomfortable.
Yes. I think one misconception about blended families is that kids are resilient.
Mm-hmm.
And it breaks my heart to hear that, especially as a therapist. The human spirit is incredible. It's amazing how people survive the things that they survive. We're incredibly adaptable, but that doesn't mean we should be putting kids in a situation where they have to be resilient. For kids, it's one of the most earth-shattering experiences, divorce and then blending a family. I don't think we should be taking it lightly. It's incredibly disorienting, destabilizing for our kids. The less that you have to do that, the better.
I agree. We've romanticized the blended family too. And
Hmm.
in reality, it's not always as good as we would like
Yeah.
to believe it's going to be. There are exceptions. There definitely are many people who love their step parent and they have a great
Hmm.
relationship. So, but you're right. I hate the idea it's just going to make you tougher. Like adversity makes
Yeah.
you, no, no,
Right.
no, no, no.
Yeah.
That was wrong. We all
Right.
have PTSD because of
Yeah.
it.
Hmm.
Let's not keep doing that.
I love my stepdad. I have a stepdad since the age of 8. So, yeah, I'm not discouraging step families at all.
Yeah.
But it's certainly one of the hardest, most painful things in my life that I'm still affected by today.
Yeah. Can be
Hmm.
traumatic for us.
Right.
So that leads us to this overlap between
Hmm.
sobriety and these divorced family situations. Where do you see the overlap between alcohol use and struggles and the challenges of co parenting and parallel parenting?
I think the overlap, the first thing that comes to mind is that these are incredibly stressful circumstances that people naturally want to find coping for.
Mhm.
And alcohol is a maladaptive strategy. As a therapist, I get it. I think if something is working for you, even if it's maladaptive, do it consciously. I
Yeah.
can understand that there may be periods where you can't tolerate something and you're using it for a short period of time. But alcohol for me was the off switch. It let me coast just enough to prolong my suffering. And I think what we really need is in these really difficult circumstances, we need problem solving and we need emotional regulation. Those are the
Mhm.
two things that go offline. Well, more than two
Yeah.
things, but our executive function goes offline. Planning, organizing, problem solving, emotional regulation, all the things we need to be an effective leader for our kids
Yeah.
out the window with alcohol. That would be the biggest
Yeah.
caution. Yes, it's tempting to numb the pain, but
Right.
ultimately you're not getting anywhere. You're literally just sitting in it longer
Yep.
until you can really make those, difficult decisions and problem solving and stay calm and regulated. It's going to feel pretty awful.
Yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
You're numbing it, which will then lead you to stay longer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What role does mindset play in both sobriety and navigating divorce, co parenting, and blending families?
What's that saying? Change the way you look at things and what you look at changes. Perspective matters a lot. And I think about inspecting something and you look at something from a different angle and you see a different perspective. That's the shift that you're trying to get to. Be curious about what else is possible. It's classic CBT, right? Challenge the negative thought. What else is possible? The mindset shift is giving your body the best possible chance to handle the situation you're in alcohol free
Yeah.
and removing anything that is keeping you stuck, anything that's numbing. So that's the mindset shift. It is hard.
Yeah.
It is hard to confront the difficult things we have to face, but the only way
Yeah.
out is through. So,
100%. Yeah.
yeah.
So, how do you help clients create the life that they want after these transitions?
Yeah.
So, with sobriety, how do you help clients through that transition who
hmm
are trying to blend? How do you help
hmm
them?
I think those may all be different perspectives, but the thread that goes through is, and I love the saying that the oak tree is already in the acorn. We have so much potential if we would just allow ourselves to grow and self actualize. With sobriety, one of the things I found was I had so much time. When you're not turning the off switch button, you have so much time. Get curious about what that oak tree is, because if the oak tree is already in the acorn, imagine what's in you. There's got to be so
Yeah.
much potential in you that's waiting to flourish. Being really curious about that and excited about that possibility. I think with blended families, it gets a little bit complicated because one of the premises of my book is not to stay married necessarily. It's just to find the opportunity to function if it's possible. And it may not
Yeah.
be possible.
Yeah.
Staying married is not always the healthiest option. With parallel parenting, co parenting, there's a lot of grit that goes into that. Lawyer up as best you can and lawyer up early so that you don't
Yeah.
have to make those changes later on, because that will give you the freedom for yourself to show up. Because right
Right.
now, you may have so many parts that are defensive. Anger
Right.
is like a message. Boundaries are being violated if anger or resentment shows up, right?
Right.
So you can decrease a lot of those angry, resentful parts by getting your boundaries in order. Each one of those is unique in how you find yourself. But I'm an IFS fan, so finding self
Me
leadership
too.
is all about working with the parts that are activated, whatever those are at
Yeah.
the time.
That's great. I think you hit on it earlier. The key is really emotional regulation. So
Self leadership.
I think a lot of my clients are surprised when we start working together because they want the divorce support, legal
Mm-hmm.
support, and even
Mm-hmm.
the financial guidance. Like, how do I protect myself financially? The first thing we're going to work on is grounding,
Yeah.
calming, because
Right.
we can only really be reactive when we're lit up.
Mm-hmm.
Calm our nervous system and come back to ourselves, then we can be responsive.
Yes.
Um, I think people are always like, wait, we're going to do what? Like,
I
I know you
know.
want to get to this parenting plan and you want to talk about what kind of divorce,
Mm-hmm.
but first, we're going to work on getting you calm and helping you stay calm when you're not with me, with your
Right.
kids, when you're in the
Mm-hmm.
meetings, because you can do all the preparation that you want. But if you go into fight or flight in a divorce meeting,
Mm-hmm.
you're
Right.
no longer in control. And I
Absolutely.
think that speaks to the alcohol too, because
Mm-hmm.
when you're in fight or flight, you lose control.
Mm-hmm.
If you're drinking every night,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have less control in what you say
Right.
about your ex
Mm-hmm.
spouse, how you engage with them when the
Yep.
rude text comes through, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, and it takes a while too. They say it takes like 48 hours from binge drinking. I don't know. But, so even if you're not, alcohol is affecting you in some way because it takes your body time to recalibrate. Your
yeah,
nervous system is going to be dysregulated. Even if you didn't drink last night, it's still
right.
dysregulated from the ongoing process of alcohol in your system. That's a great point. We're trying to gain as much self leadership as possible. I think parts are like younger parts that I think they know how to deal. We
Yeah,
don't want the toddler driving the bus. Right? We
right,
need
right.
self driving the bus. That takes practice, processing, and a lot
And
of
a lot
intention.
of, I always say my 8-year-old self drives the bus a lot, gonna jump
Yeah,
in, push me out.
right.
She was, that's how old I was when my parents got divorced.
The same.
So much was happening then.
Yeah.
And she's responsible for many of my parts. This has been helpful. Where can listeners learn more about your work?
Yeah, probably my website is pratidana, a Sanskrit word that means balance and restoration, if anyone's
Mm,
wondering. Yeah, so Pratidana Wellness, or email me at info at Pratidana Wellness. I'm also on Instagram at Off the Rocks. There's periods in there, so it's off the dot rocks the sober. That'll probably be in the show notes.
show notes.
Hopefully people in Ann Arbor are listening. If you're in Ann Arbor, come check out a meetup and let's build a community around alcohol free.
Do you have a Facebook group?
Yeah, I have Living Without Alcohol. So yes, you can find me there.
A free group, you're posting information.
Anyone interested in sober curious or alcohol free already, or you just want to see what it's all about, yeah, anyone and everyone is welcome.
Maybe we'll have you back on when your book is out and ready. Fabulous to talk about.
I would love that.
The book. What is one piece of encouragement that you'd like to leave with someone who's in the early stages of either divorce or sobriety?
The first thing that comes to mind, it's like the weather and emotions. They always change. Maybe this too shall pass sounds a little bit cliche, but my son turned 18 and it magically just dissipated all of that tension. So it does get better. You can get through it. I did get through a lot of religious indoctrination about why I needed to stay married. And I was able to finalize my second divorce. I'm still alive. I made it through that. So whatever you're going through might feel really challenging, but the only way out is through. Keep confronting, keep picking yourself back up and keep going.
Yeah, great. I love that. Thank you.
I
I
love
loved talking to you.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you. If anyone is watching and they enjoyed this episode, please subscribe. All of Melanie's contact information will be in the show notes. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks. Bye.